I'm Tom Davidson. I'm the CEO of EverFi. It really came from both of experiences, my time in the state legislature and then my time as a very subpar venture capitalist after that. There were really two things that came about. One was I had sat on a lot of committees in Maine that dealt with access to education, access to broadband, and it became very clear that there were these issues that no one paid attention to within the school day. So things like financial literacy, student loan preparation, summer learning loss, alcohol responsibility, that you could see the effects of in my policy life, but you also knew that there was never going to be any money to pay for it. And that was really where my experience working with early stage technology companies came in. It created an opportunity to create a whole new way of thinking about this, to actually attack these issues as a company using scale and technology. And that's really where those two ideas came together, and that was the germinating moment of EverFi. So 9 years ago today, this very day, we loaded up into a RV that was on its last legs before we went on the trip, and I think is still in a hazmat zone somewhere being cleaned out to this day. But we knew that we really wanted to do was be on the ground talking to teachers, folks in the community, parents, educators, superintendents, and others to find out really the issues where the rubber hits the road. So we literally started in Trenton, New Jersey, drove, stopped off at the inauguration for President Obama, and made our way through the South, through the Mississippi Delta, through Coosa County, Alabama, and the Black Belt, made our way through East Baton Rouge Parish into the farm towns of Texas, the Tequa reservations of Texas and Arizona, and eventually wound up in Los Angeles. So it was a incredible journey that I don't think we could ever state strongly enough how important that was to us, because we really just learned so much about how school systems worked, saved us a ton of time thinking about how technology could actually be integrated into schools. And we did all of that with, honestly, it was like a couple $100. All of us didn't have the proverbial pot when we started this company. We hadn't raised any money. We did everything on our credit cards. We were all broke. And that couple $1,000s to rent that RV was literally everything at that point, to the point where the last night of that, are sleeping on a couch in the lobby of a hotel, because that was how lean things were as we were trying to build the early technology and get this thing off the ground. I started the company initially with my good friend from college, a guy named John Chapman. And we'd all gone to Bowdoin College together. John told me the second day we were together, he said, the first thing that we're going to do, if we can ever afford it, is bring Ray Martinez on, who I'd known a little bit from college. Ray was the star quarterback, held a bunch of records at Bowdoin, and didn't talk to me much when we were in college. And so we brought on Ray, within a year of starting the company. And we all shared the same thing. They had a really great background in education, and particularly in operations and managing people and growing businesses as part of Kaplan, which at the time was owned by the Washington Post, and they had real education chops from an operations perspective. I had the policy side of the house and really the finance side of the house, and all three of us cared a ton about kids in classrooms at the end of the day. So it was the perfect marriage, and to this day, I think co-founders and folks who start companies are supposed to end up hating each other and not trusting each other and suing each other at the end of the day. I still talk to these guys 5 times a day. We work side by side, doing everything in the company, and huge amount of love and trust there that's been there since the beginning. I will tell you, number one, it's where John and I were both living, and so that made sense. Ray was living in La Jolla in San Diego, and still, I think, curses us to this day that he can't surf every morning. John and I were here, and my network was heavily based here. But having said all that, what we learned very quickly was there's literally no better place in the world to launch an education technology company than the Baltimore, Washington, broader Baltimore, Washington corridor. And the reason is, you certainly have the policy apparatus here, Department of Education's here, there's interesting thought leadership here, but more than that, you have about 10 very interesting cornerstone companies in the education space, from Blackboard to Strayer to Sterling Partners and all of their companies, Laureate, K-12, 2U. You just go down the line, there's an extraordinary amount of entrepreneurs. And so one of the things that we benefited from, the people that have been through the rodeo at a Blackboard or somewhere, that you get this from an education technology perspective that we were able to bring into the company, and that was a big help. You couldn't do that anywhere, and you certainly can't do it in Silicon Valley. This place has unique advantages to being an education company that West Coast companies will never have.